Today, we are talking how to maximize your virtual presence. Now, thanks to the pandemic, everybody has a presence, Lord, virtual presence from interviewing for a job to a 90-year-old grandparent. You know, them grandparents always want to interact with those kids, those grandkids. So they are even online and have a virtual presence. But before we dive in, welcome to the bandwidth. I'm Rosie, your video coach and your program and course creator for I'm Doing This, I'm Going Live, and the real secrets to gaining confidence and going live. I help women over 40 gain confidence and conquer their fear of video. This is a three-way conversation. So definitely, please engage with us and ask questions. If you find value in this video, give it a thumbs up. Check out other videos on my channel, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification bell. So let's do this. Again, the title of this show is How to Maximize Your Virtual Presence. Our guest is Sherhara Downing. She is a public speaking coach. Let's welcome her to the bandwidth. Welcome.
I don't care how long we've been on Zoom. You know, you start to open up your mouth and you forget that you are on mute. It like everybody does it. So
I do it too.
I'm like, and then nothing comes out. Well, anyways, Rosie, thank you so much for having me on the bandwidth. What's up, all my bandwidth watchers, listeners, and tribes? So nice to be here in the virtual space with you together.
Yes, thank you so much for being on. I gave a brief description about you. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Yeah, you know, I would say that, and I always like to just give a little something different. My background really started in 5th grade, and I was a Maywood mediator. And they trained us on conflict management, threw us out on the playground, and told us to get in people's business. And ever since then, I have been getting in people's business, and I have been using my voice to push through conflict. And I believe that's where I was first given permission that my voice mattered. And ever since then, I've been talking, I've been hosting, I've been emceeing. I even freestyle from time to time, but okay. I don't get paid. I don't get paid for that. Freestyling comes after a little bit of Crown Royal. But so ever since then, I've always been in the space of speaking, public speaking. I mean, I did the church announcements. In high school, I was doing the announcements on the PA. In college, I don't care if you were a Delta, a SG-Row, a AKA, the Alphas, I was hosting your event. Okay. So, and then eventually I transitioned from just being talent, turning it into a hardcore skill, honoring my voice as a skill and not just a gift of gab. And that's when I moved into the corporate space of teaching, coaching, training, and facilitating. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. Well, let me go back. So you have always been good at, you know, being in front of crowds and stuff. Where did that come from? What do you think?
Yeah, you know, like I said, in that 5th grade experiment of seeing how can we teach 10-year-olds how to deal with conflict management, an adult told me, you can speak. Someone validated me young, you know, and then once it started, people started doing it again, and they started doing it again. I sometimes wonder if I had the talent and no one validated me, would the talent have been cultivated? So it says to me that I definitely believe that I had what it takes to be a speaker, to be a communicator. But I attribute the cultivation of what was in me to the people around me. And at that particular time, of course, it's the adults, it's our teachers, it's our parents, it's our family members. My dad is the guy where he's never met a stranger. So I know that I was born with it. But I also say, how early on in life did someone give you permission to speak? because you could be just like me with the ability, but perhaps just did not get the permission, did not get the invitation, did not get the celebration. And if you didn't get that, then you probably didn't even know you had something to cultivate. So yeah, I would say it's always been there, but I think it's always been there because there's always been someone at a pivotal moment in my development to say, yeah, you did it, you can do it, and you're good.
Yeah. And I think I was the opposite. Like when you said church, yes, I'd started in church, but that wasn't until like I was older. I may have did the announcements once in a while, but I was always terrified. And so when I started, I guess my corporate career when I was in maybe like my 20s, that's when I did like Toastmaster, just because I knew that was something that I wanted to work on, never knowing where that was going to lead me. But it was just something I wanted to do. And then in church, I was doing like, I joined the hospitality committee. So I was going up there and like I said, never knowing where it was going to lead me because I was never the type that was a talker. I'm the person that be in a corner somewhere, just peeping the scene and seeing what people doing. I never wanted to be on the mic or whatever, but Lord, look at me now. I'm like, wow.
See, it grows. It's an evolution, you know?
Yeah.
You may not have always thought that that's what you would be, but you have to allow yourself to evolve and not restrict yourself based on who you used to be,
Yeah. So why is it important? Like I said in the intro, like now the pandemic changed everything. It changed the game. Like I said, from doing interviews, like if you do an interview now, or if you did it through the pandemic, you on Zoom somewhere. Grandparents even have a skill set. I'm surprised that my mother, she called me the other day talking about she was looking for a car or CarMax. And I'm like, what? Who is this? Like, what? So it's like older people are, online and getting it. So why do you think it's important?
There were two things that came to mind. The first that came to mind, one, it's important because if you are watching this show, you know that Spirit has put something on your heart. If you are seeking out information about getting better at video, getting better at communicating, getting better at whatever that skill set, that means you're supposed to be doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's important because it's been a calling on you. It's important because you here right now. Now, I don't know exactly what you're connecting the dots for, but it's important because there's a voice, there's an intuition, there's something in you speaking to you saying, "Oh, girl, you need to get better. Mm-hmm. Oh, girl, you tired of showing up not liking how you sound. Oh, girl, you tired of being nervous, but you got to do it," right? You say that to yourself, but then you show up in spaces like this. So it's important because you have to honor that voice. You have to honor yourself. That's why it's important first and foremost. But then secondly, in the space of virtual, when you decide that you're going to show up, it's important because now you have access to people in the virtual space that you would have never had access to before. And people who have never had access to you before now have access to you, your message, your gift, your talent, your service, your product, your offerings, mm-hmm. right? So it's important because you want to capitalize and use technology to your advantage. And if the virtual space and video is going to put you, or for example, put me, Sherhara, from Houston, Texas, land of Beyonce, in contact with Rosie through the internets of Instagram, and now through the wire channels of Zoom and YouTube, that is an absolute blessing that I now get to support a sister that I would have may not have come in contact with. So big ups to Rosie for, the invitation. But this right here is even an example of how you allow video and your virtual presence grow things within you that need to be cultivated.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it, because it's global. Like you're saying, you can just touch so many people. And, I always give the example about like a boutique owner. Before the pandemic, you may have had traffic flowing through your boutique. You ain't have to do too much. But when stuff shut down, guess who got to put on them outfits and model and talk about them? You. So you got to, get over whatever is in you because you got bills to pay. Yeah. So like you said, no matter what your offering is, it's definitely needed. So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the first hurdle that people have to get over to move forward to having a great virtual presence?
The first hurdle, remember that voice, Rosie, that I talked about, that your viewers, that we all have sometimes, where it's like, oh, girl, I know I need to do this. Oh, child, I know I need to do that. Yeah, I know it. That's the first hurdle. The voice, the negative self-talk, the insecurities, the doubts, the resistance, that all happens in here. And it's, it comes from an experience that you've had before, which we all have had, experiences that teach us what we can and cannot do. And then sometimes we believe it. And then sometimes we reinforce it with the things that we tell ourselves. But those aren't the things that we're supposed to be reinforcing. You know how you're supposed to show up. So if you want to do more video, if you know the benefits of what video is going to do for you, if you have something to offer, the first hurdle is to stop yourself from telling yourself you can't do it. You got to stop yourself, and not even stop yourself. Instead of that, you need to encourage yourself that I can do it. And I think you said that earlier. You need to, or that's the name of your program. Yeah. Oh, yes, I can. Yes, I did it. Or I did it and I'm going to do it again. Moving in that space of coaching yourself up. So the first hurdle is just changing the way that you empower yourself, the way that you encourage yourself, the way that you cheerlead yourself, and check yourself. And there's a song that said, check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Yeah. So check yourself right when you start to tell yourself something that's not going to serve you, and replace it with words that serve yourself. So that's the first hurdle.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's always in our head. And we have to understand that people are coming to you for whatever knowledge you have. They're not tripping off of, your diction. You try the best that you can, but they're looking, if you know how to tell me how to get baby hair, for example, that's what I'm coming to you for. How to lay this, how to swoop it, whatever. And we get in our heads and we like, oh my God, I can't do this. Just try it. People are not looking at you like that. No. Really, they're not.
No. Yeah. Especially, when you had mentioned, Rosie, like the diction or the pronunciation or the enunciation. No, nobody cares about that. People come to me and say, oh, I need help with my public speaking. And I say, okay, what do you feel like you're challenged with? And they're like, well, I feel like I want to get rid of the uhs and the ums and the uhs. And I hate that people have even been taught that that's something that you need to give your attention to. The uhs, the ums, and all of that is more so a symptom of the problem, which is you didn't prepare, which is more so a symptom of, you didn't think about your ideas at first. It's more, or you're not considering your audience or whatever it may be. And I'm like, if somebody is paying attention to how often you say and that's not the problem. The problem is you just don't have your message together. You're not being your true self. They're reading you and knowing, so that you don't have to worry about that. That's not what it is. People want to see you.
That is true. And it's always, it's always like, trying to be cookie cutter, like looking over to the right or looking over to the left, trying to see what somebody else is doing, and not, trying to create your own lane and being yourself, because like you said, people are looking for, to be authentic, somebody that's authentic, not somebody that's trying to be like somebody else. So and I'm so glad you said something about the and because I actually do. And sometimes you just don't know. And it just comes to you. And then once you continue to do it, you'll get better. And you know, you won't even say that anymore. So I'm
Yeah.
so happy that you said that.
And we all have things that we say that kind of give us time to figure out what our next thought is going to be. But again, like I said, I don't ever think that that is the major distraction, right? That's not the thing that's going to make someone say, oh, I don't believe her, I don't want to talk to her, or that, you know, I'm not going to listen anymore. Now there is a spectrum, you know, so if you really lost and you spending 30 seconds just saying then yeah, but it wasn't the and that showed us that you were lost. It was the fact that you're not saying anything. So
yes. So moving on to a digital profile. What is it and how do I create it?
Yeah, so a digital profile, and in a way, Rosie, we kind of talk about some of the similar things, right? So a lot of the clients that I work with, we're talking about like the public profile, and the digital profile is in that same space. And so when you think about your digital profile or your digital footprint or your digital presence, you know, I always tell people, where are you to get over any of those hurdles that you may have is, where are you showing up most in the first place? Is it the YouTube? Is it the Facebook? Is it the Instagram? Is it the Twitters? Is it the TikToks? Where do you most naturally find yourself engaging, you know, talking to people, searching for things, and find that place first, and then allow yourself to really pour yourself into it, and not spread yourself too thin. And I say that because when you're thinking about a virtual or digital, you know, profile, it starts in the space that you can be most consistent. And if you can't be consistent in these spaces, then someone's going to look at you at one place and look at you at another place, and have bits and pieces and not be able to put together a full picture. But then if they stumble upon that one place where you for real show up, now they get an understanding of who you are, what you do, what you like, what your vibe is, you know, whether you're married, got kids, you know, where you live at, you know, and they get an understanding for who you are. So having a digital, did you call it digital profile?
Yes.
So having that digital profile is really just a space where people can come and find you and then be able to understand who you are. But if it's inconsistent, if it's segmented, then you're putting the responsibility on them to piece together who you are. So if you want to step out and really start to deliver your presence, if you really want people to be able to identify with you, then just pick that one platform that you can start to communicate who you are through that platform. And then it's easier for when people land on that, for them to actually get you.
Yeah. And I so agree too, because when you first start, you don't know, you're overwhelmed with the possibility. Do I do TikTok? Do I do YouTube? Do I do Instagram? Do I do Facebook? I think you can do a little bit of research to kind of like figure out what your demographic is and where they are, but still you may not be sure. Still, okay. For me, example, I'm dealing with women over 40. So still, you know, is it Facebook or should I do Instagram? And I do agree with what you said, just pick one first and then still continue to do some research on the side. And you may have to switch to another one if you find that you're not getting the traction that you need. But start somewhere, you know, so often we get overwhelmed. We're trying to make a decision. And I'm so happy that you said, just pick one and try it out.
And I would also say, don't trip too, because some of your favorite people got platforms that don't look like nothing. They don't do nothing. And if you're starting to like me, you go to my YouTube, it don't look like nothing, y'all. And I know it should be looking like something. Rosie, it is next on my to-do list. But I took a little pressure off of myself and just said, you know what? I'm in a groove right now on Instagram. And Instagram is kind of, you know, what I've adapted to. And now that I'm in a good groove with Instagram, I just hired on an editor to help me edit some videos, because that was a hurdle for me of getting the videos to YouTube. So now I got some help. And so with that help, we've committed to editing 3 videos a month. Now, you know, you go on YouTube, you got people putting 3 videos a day on YouTube. So this is you just got to start where you are and don't trip.
No, and like you said, if that's what you committed to, commit to that and let your audience know you don't have to keep up with the people that's doing 3 videos or 5 or posting 8 times a day. Be consistent to whatever you know can do, because everybody's lifestyle is different. You may not can commit. And you can do one or two things. Like if you're on Instagram, like you said, and now you're trying to concentrate on YouTube, or the reverse. Even if you're on YouTube first and want to be on Instagram, you can repurpose your content. Like the videos that you're doing on YouTube, you can make them clips on Instagram. So you can make it work for you. And I think I didn't know that at first. When I first started, I was just like, Lord, I'm overwhelmed with so much stuff you have to create. But then after a while doing some research, talking to people and listening to other things, you're like, oh, this could be manageable. It's still a lot. And I'm glad to hear that you said you hired somebody, because sometimes we try to do everything and it's just like, oh no, you can't do it. And then you're making it happen. But even if, your YouTube still didn't do anything, they'll know that you hang out on Instagram. That's where you are.
Find me on the gram. That's where I be.
Yes. So my jam now is YouTube. I try to, stay on here a little bit longer, put up videos a little bit more often. And I used to be on Instagram a lot too. I still try to post, but it's a lot. It is a lot to, get everything going and post consistently. But yeah, sometimes I do good with, weeks and weeks and weeks. And then sometimes I fall off for a couple of weeks, but you do the best you can. So
yes.
Yeah. So increasing your virtual presence, we kind of like talked about it a little bit, but how do you recommend we do that?
Yeah. So increasing, I think there's 2 things. Do you mean like reach, or do you mean like in the actual delivery?
Reach.
Okay. So in the space of reach, I think there are 2 things that has helped me, and they're very simple things. It's the hashtags, right? People do search, of course, people search YouTube because this is number 2 search engine, right? Next to Google. People are all up on YouTube, so they're searching hashtags. And then they're also searching keywords. So when you have those hashtags and those keywords on any of your platforms, so if you're, for me on Instagram, I'm constantly retweaking I forget how many, it's like 30 hashtags you can have on Instagram. Don't quote me on that.
No, but it used to be 30. They just went down to 3. They now recommend you only use 3. I'm like, what? I still use 30.
Like 30. So, what I'm saying is, like, I actually, like, every month, every other month or so, I'll go back and I'll look at my hashtags and I'll see, is this still relevant to what I'm talking about? So if someone searches it, am I talking about this? And then I also ask myself, what are people searching? And is it within my wheelhouse to create content that matches what people are searching? I also look at I don't like to call it competition, but I love to look at what other public speaking coaches, I go look at their pages. I go look at their content. I look at their hashtags. If I can search and find them, what was it that they put in their hashtags? What is it that they put in their bios? Because that's the same thing that I may need to include in mine so that I can be searchable amongst other public speaking coaches. I realize that if I have something cute or catchy to say, it's not necessary for a hashtag, because nobody in their mind is going to say to themselves, I'm going to search mammal moments. No one's looking for that. But yet I make it a hashtag because it's a saying of mine. Take that off as a hashtag. It's a search engine. So for reach in that space, I would definitely say, think about your hashtags. And then for reach, and it's something I'm even stepping into more, which is surprising, but tell people what to do. Tell them to like, tell them to share, tell them to comment, tell them to, like, share, comment, like, tell people to do that. Sometimes in my Instagram posts, I'll ask people a question. And then they comment on something else, like, yes, girl, I see you. I'm like, you didn't answer my question. How are you?
Call them out?
I call them out, girl. What about my question? You know, I don't do it all the time, but you know, like the people that I know, especially, I need you to help me teach people how to engage on my page.
Yeah.
So stop telling me you think I look cute. I know you like me. I need you to answer the question.
No, that's funny because I run into that too. And I'm just like, okay, you know, some people answer this, some people don't. And yeah, it's just like, okay. But I do agree. I never thought about calling people out, which may be effective because like you said, you're teaching them that, no, I want you to engage, even though they are by leaving a comment and they're talking about your appearance, but that wasn't the question you asked.
Yeah, that wasn't the question. But even that is what the main thing is the engagement, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that when people know that you're going to respond, when people know that they're checking up on you, you know, in the insights, you can look and see who's shared your content. You know, I make sure that if I happen to stumble upon somebody watching their stories and then they shared my story, I always say, make sure you tag me so that I know, you know, like I appreciate you sharing, but tag me so that I can reshare, so I can show people social proof that other people are sharing my stuff. So it's okay for you to share. Going back to that whole permission space, you got to try to figure out how you can give permission or even tell people what to do.
Yeah, and that is true. Call to action. That's another thing that you don't know this stuff when you're first starting. Like I was so green, and it's so good to, you know, listen to shows like this that inform you because they don't know if you don't tell them. And it's so important. So I'm so happy that you said that you have to tell them what to do and, you know, keep saying it because when you first start out, you may not see it. You may not see anybody commenting on your page, but keep, you know, if one person comment, like you said, make sure and don't wait 2 or 3 days. Like when you see it, definitely respond to them. And then people will catch on and keep going. Consistency is the name of the game. So yes. So how can people stay connected with you and what's next for you?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about Instagram. You can find me on Instagram, right? At Sherhara, SHERHARA. I'm on there quite frequently. I'm posting frequently. That's definitely where if you send me a DM, I will certainly respond. And so that's the place where I kind of build the community, right? And building the community for me right now is I have an 8-week group coaching program and it's called Privilege. And the space that I'm in with public speaking is, you know, it hasn't evolved. People still teaching informative speeches when you go to college, and that does not reflect the many nuances of how we have to connect and communicate in this world, including virtual. And so I am teaching a style of public speaking called connection-sourced public speaking. And it's really about how do you use your words to really connect with people. Nobody cares about the uhs, and ums when you're telling a story that they say, oh, that's me. Oh my gosh, I've been there. I love her. We here, right? It's energy that people are attracted to. And it's your job as the speaker to facilitate, to cultivate the connection. You're supposed to guide people in this space of mutual understanding and rapport so that we can be here. And so in my group coaching program, I work with a lot of business and thought leaders who are using public speaking to grow their public profile, right? Like how are people understanding who you are, what you do, and who you do it for? And so people come to the program because they're showing up in panels, they're showing up doing podcasts, they're doing events like this, and they want to be able to communicate their messages and they want to feel good doing it. Because a lot of times they show up and they do it, and then when they get done, they go, oh my God, I totally could have done this differently. I totally could have done that differently. You know, and then you feel bad about yourself, right? So it's the preparation that helps you for each time you step onto these physical stages when they come about these days, but now even more so these virtual stages. And how are you preparing yourself for it? So I'm always diving deep into serving in that space and into studying in that space, because as we know, you mentioned earlier, Rosie, you know, in your 20s going to Toastmasters. And I think Toastmasters is great. I think it's a great place to practice. But, you know, I dare to challenge the realm of public speaking to introduce new concepts of ways to connect, right? Outside of the most traditional ways of let's get rid of the uhs and the ums. Boo boo, baby, ain't nobody thinking about that. You know, so that's where I spend a lot of my time, you know, try to get as much reading in. I do my personal journaling. You know, I'm constantly asking God to deliver me what it is that he needs for me to serve the people around me. Asking God to deliver the people who need what, you know, he's given me to offer, and creating space and time to honor that. So studying and doing the program and a whole bunch of other stuff, but that's what keeps my mojo going.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. This has been a great conversation, and I know it added value to our audience. So thanks again.
Yes, thank you. Bye, everybody.
So what are you going to implement from this episode? Make sure you tell me in the comments, and whatever it is, take action on it today. Some additional ways I can help your Go Live journey. Please join my email community. You will get a weekly email from me, a weekly video from me that motivates you. And we have giveaways in there. We spotlight community members. We have exclusive offers. So definitely sign up on my website. The first pop-up you see on my homepage, just put in your information, and then you will be a part of our community. Also, I do Shoot the Shits with Rosie on Tuesdays at 7:30. Are you watching it? That is another way that I can help your Go Live journey. And also my program, I'm Doing This, I'm Going Live. Right now, it's on a wait list. It's my 6-week program that helps you overcome mindset challenges, get you comfortable with tools needed to go live. You'll learn to navigate the various social media platforms. And most importantly, you will become courageous enough to hit that go live button. Also, my course, The Real Secret to Gaining Confidence and Going Live. It's an online course I created to help women like you show up confidently on camera. You'll walk away being tech confident, camera confident, and content confident. So definitely join the wait list for that, so you'll know when that kicks off next. And how I always end, I always want to encourage you that the world is waiting for you to do what only you can. Your voice needs to be heard because it matters to someone. So let's turn on the camera, turn up the confidence, and tell your story. If you find value in this video, as I mentioned in the beginning, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and check out my other videos. Share this episode link with one person that you know that could benefit from our conversation that we had here. And follow me on Facebook, Rosie Faulkner, and IG, Faulkner_Rosie. Feel free to DM me and let me know how I can personally support you. Until next week, bye-bye.